All rise.
Please be seated. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
State your name.
I'm Dr. Varsha Podduturi. It's spelled V as in Victor, A-R-S-H-A, and the last name is P-O-D-D-U-T-U-R-I.
And doctor, how are you employed?
I'm an assistant medical examiner at the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences in Houston, Texas.
And how long have you been with the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office?
It will be 3 years next month.
Prior to being at Harris County, where were you working?
I was working at the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Sciences here in Dallas for a one-year fellowship training in forensic pathology.
And some people call you a medical examiner, some folks might call you a pathologist. What would you call your profession?
Those are synonymous terms. You can use both.
And what are the educational requirements? What are your what education did you get for that type of occupation?
So I have a 4-year degree in finance from Texas Tech University. I graduated in 2007, and then subsequently after that, I went to medical school at the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Medicine, and I graduated in 2011 with my degree or doctorate of medicine degree. And then after that, I did a 4-year anatomic and clinical pathology residency here at Baylor University Medical Center here in Dallas, Texas. And then after that, I did that 1-year forensic pathology training at Swifts.
What would be the difference between you as a pathologist and, let's say, a general practitioner of medicine?
So I have specific training in pathology. So pathology is the study of diseases and how they affect the organs of the body.
And as part of that, you conduct autopsies.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell the jury what is an autopsy.
An autopsy is an external examination as well as an internal examination of the body of a deceased individual to determine the cause and manner of death.
So when we talk about cause and manner of death, someone passes away, is an autopsy always conducted on someone who's passed away?
Not always necessary. There are certain requirements in cases that are reported to a medical examiner's office as well as cases that are autopsied versus an external examination.
So homicide, would that autopsy be conducted if someone's victim of a homicide?
Yes.
Suicide, someone commits suicide, is generally an autopsy done for that?
Yes.
And in terms of how autopsy is conducted, can you just generally walk the jury through the first step all the way up to the last step of doing an autopsy?
Sure. So when a case is called into the office and the medical examiner's office is deemed to have jurisdiction over the body, it's assigned a unique identification number that is carried through all the stuff that happens at the office. So once that number is assigned, the case is assigned to a medical examiner to perform the autopsy. So the first part of that step is to make sure that the case number and the name match. So then after that, a first round of photographs are taken to document the body as is, and then notes are taken to document the clothing, the condition of the body, etc. If necessary, evidence is collected as well in certain types of cases, and then after that, the clothes are removed, the body is cleaned off, and then another round of external examination begins where the hair color, the eye color, any scars or tattoos or any unique features are noted. And then after that, the internal examination begins. So the organs are examined in situ, meaning in the body, and then the organs are taken out one by one, and any evidence of disease or injury is documented as well.
And in cases where the autopsy has been done due to a homicide, are you looking or making notations of all the injuries on the body?
Yes.
Are you making notation of the injury that more than likely caused the death,
Yes.
as well as any other incidental injuries that you might see on the body?
Yes.
How is your report, or how is that recorded?
So the report is dictated soon after the autopsy is completed. So it begins with an external examination documenting, how the body's received, the clothing, the eye color, hair color, height, weight, etc. And then it subsequently moves into any identifying marks or scars. So that's like tattoo scars, and then any evidence of therapy that may be on the body as well. And then it moves to the evidence of injury section. The next section is evidence submitted, and then there's an internal examination documenting the stuff we find in the organs.
I'm going to turn your attention back to when you were here in Dallas working for Swifts as a medical examiner. Did you conduct an autopsy on a Kendra K. Hatcher?
Yes.
And just basically, how old was Kendra Hatcher at the time you conducted her autopsy?
She was 35 years old.
And what was her date of birth?
Date of birth is February 3rd, 1980.
May I approach the witness, John? And you had made reference to identifying a number. What is the purpose of that identifying number?
So that's a unique number that's assigned to the body that is attached to any documentation or any evidence that's collected from the body.
Looking at States 233, would that unique number be on this photograph?
Yes.
And what is that number?
It's IFS-15-14219.
We would offer States 233 for record purposes.
No objection.
Admitted.
Now, Doctor, in addition to that identifying photograph, we have some photographs that are States Exhibits 246 through 263. You had an opportunity to go through these photographs?
Yes.
And fairly accurately represent the pictures, the autopsy that you performed that day?
Yes.
We'd offer 246 through 263 for record purposes.
No objection for record purposes.
Admitted for record purposes.
Now, turning back to the autopsy of Dr. Hatcher. Do you have a copy of your report with you?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, am I reapproaching?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what's marked as States 232 and ask you if you recognize this. And States 232 is an 8-page report. It's a copy of the autopsy you conducted on Dr. Hatcher.
Yes.
I read off States 232.
No objection.
If you could refer to your copy of States Exhibit 232, Doctor, kind of tell the jury what's the first step you took on this autopsy.
Okay, the first step I did on this autopsy was to examine the body as it's received. So I documented the clothing, the eye color, the hair color, and noted any evidence of injury on the body.
You do a calculation of height and weight.
Yes, the height is 62 inches and the weight is 129 pounds.
And in your report, do you make a documentation of the evidence of injury?
Yes.
And what injuries did you find on this body?
There were gunshot wounds
And where was the gunshot wound located?
So there was an entrance that was located on the occipital scalp or the back of the head, and then there was an exit gunshot wound that's noted on the submental region of the head, meaning underneath the chin.
Okay. When you say back of the head, can you kind of point and show the jury?
Yes, sir.
And use me as a model.
Okay.
Say the back of the head. Show the point to the jury what we're referring to.
Okay. It's going to be this region on the back of the head.
And the exit that you mentioned would be where?
On the submental region of the head, so underneath the chin.
Here?
Yeah, right here.
Are you looking for any type of, or are you able to tell the trajectory of that bullet wound?
Yes.
And what was the trajectory?
It's going to be back to front, downward, and slightly left to right.
Did you find signs of other injuries outside of that bullet wound?
Yes, there were some superficial abrasions or scrapes that were on the right side of the forehead and the cheek, as well as the chest, and on the hands as well, and that right elbow too.
Are you able to determine if those abrasions or scrapes are directly related to the gunshot injury?
No.
But you make a notation of that anyway.
Yes.
What about a toxicology?
Yes, toxicology was performed on this case.
And when you do a toxicology during an autopsy, what are you looking for?
So we actually collect the samples to submit to our toxicology lab, and they're the ones who look for any prescription drugs, any illicit drugs, any alcohol that may be present.
And during the autopsy of Dr. Hatcher, as far as her toxicology, did you find anything that would indicate the presence of alcohol or drugs or anything of that nature?
No, the toxicology was negative on this case.
And as a result of your autopsy, you also make findings.
Yes.
And what were the findings on this autopsy?
So the findings in this autopsy were there was a gunshot wound of the head that went into the neck.
And you make a conclusion.
Yes.
And what was your conclusion?
The conclusion was, based on the case history and autopsy findings, it's our opinion that the decedent died as a result of a gunshot wound of the head into the neck.
And what was the manner of her death?
Homicide.
And is this report signed by you?
Yes.
And is it also signed by all the other medical examiners at Sept at that time?
Yes.
Approach on. Show you another set of photographs, States Exhibits 234 through 245. Take a look at that, please. These are photographs taken by you.
Yes.
Will these photographs be helpful in your testimony to the jury regarding the injuries that you made notation of in your report?
Yes.
Here we are for States 234 through 245 for all purposes.
Objection as under 403.
Starting with States 234, what do we see in that photograph?
This is a photo of the entrance gunshot wound of the head before it's been cleaned up, what we consider a dirty shot.
Okay, so this basically shows the injury, or does it basically show the injury as you first saw it when the body came to the ME's office?
Yes, that's correct.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
What are we seeing in 235?
This is a photo of the entrance gunshot wound of the head after the body's been cleaned off and the hair has been shaved.
And what? Okay, so the hair has been shaved.
Yes.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
And in the interest of time, Your Honor, may I have permission to publish the
Yes,
rest
sir,
of
you
those?
may.
.237, what do we see here?
This is a picture of the exit gunshot wound that's underneath the chin.
.238?
This is a photo of the torso of the body after the clothing's been removed and it's been cleaned off, showing some scrapes that are on the chest.
Do we see sign possible injury in .238?
Yes, the
And this was-
abrasion. That's on the chest.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The abrasion that's on the chest.
Yeah. States 240. What do we see on states 240?
This is the photo of the back of the body that shows an abrasion that's on the right elbow.
Also appears to be some discoloration on the body. Is there an explanation for that?
Yes, that's lividity. That's something that happens after a person dies. It basically is kind of leaking of the blood into the skin. It's a sign of death.
It states 242. What do we see here?
This is an abrasion that's on the elbow.
Now, you don't have an opinion as to whether or not that's directly related to, or you're not able to say that that's directly related to the gunshot injury.
Correct.
Could have been there before, or could have happened because due to the fall.
Correct.
And states 243. What are we looking at here?
This is the dorsum of the left hand that shows an abrasion,
An abrasion.
on the finger.
And states 244. What do we see here?
This is another view of the left hand that shows a bruise or a contusion that's on the hand. Or that's on the hand.
And these red marks on this portion of the hand, do you have an opinion as to what that is?
That's dried blood.
And lastly, with states 245, what do we see here?
This is just a photo of the cleaned up top of the hand, so you can see some that same contusion or the bruise that's there.
That discoloration on the
Yeah.
finger?
Yes.
Or the knuckle?
Yes.
And we had talked about the path of the bullet. You said it's down and into the chin.
Yes, it's back to front and downward. Yes.
And then, may I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
again, states 237, that shows the exit wound.
Yes.
And would that be consistent as far as on states 238 showing the abrasion on the chest, the bullet coming out, hitting the chest and causing this abrasion?
Yes.
So just so that we're clear, we're talking about down, out, here.
Yes.
Pass the witness.
No questions, Your Honor?
Thank you, doctor. You may stand down. You're free to leave the courthouse.
Police court, members of the jury, state rest.
Thank you, Missy Lawyers. All right, members of the jury, I'm going to ask you if you'll just stand outside in the hall for just very briefly.
All rise.
Oh, okay, never mind. We're going to go ahead and take a break. It's 10:30. You can be back in the jury room at 10:45, please. Gallery ranks. I'm so sorry.
I thought that was from just a bubble. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's the session?
Are we doing something, George?
I'm just going to make a...
Wait. Lagos, we need to... I put an expert on George?
Yeah, sure.
Is he here or she here?
He's here.
All right, would you call him? I'm sorry. Is that for the purposes of the motion or what?
No, I was going to make, I just going to make a motion for Brenda verdict, and then I was going to call him. They've now asked for 7 of 5 hearings.
Oh, okay. Run the record outside the presence of the jury.
It comes now the defendant hearing, Brenda Delgado, moves this court to instruct the jury to return a verdict of not guilty and that the state has failed to prove that Brenda Delgado, identified as defendant on or about the 2nd day of September 2015, in the county of Dallas, state of Texas, did then and there intentionally and knowingly cause the death of Kendra Hatcher, an individual here and after called deceased, by employing Kristopher Love to murder the deceased for remuneration and the promise of remuneration, to wit, drugs in the U.S. currency from the defendant and a drug cartel, and pursuant to said agreement, the said Kristopher Love did then and there intentionally and knowingly cause the death of said deceased by shooting the deceased with a firearm, a deadly weapon, and did further unlawfully then and there intentionally cause the death of Kendra Hatcher, an individual hereinafter called deceased, by shooting deceased with a firearm, a deadly weapon, and the defendant was then and there in the course of committing and attempting to commit the offense of robbery of said deceased.
Denied. Give the autopsy report. You tell me your coverage. No, thanks.
Yeah, I got it.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, sir, would you state your name?
Tom Slovenski.
For the court reporter, would you spell your last name?
Slovenski.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a digital forensics examiner specializing in mobile phone forensics and tower analysis.
How long have you been doing this?
12 years.
All right. What education and qualifications do you have to do this?
I have been certified since 2007 in mobile forensics. I was certified by Dr. Rick Mislin of Purdue University. I've also been certified as a subject matter expert in called Detail Records Analysis and Geolocation Analysis by the ZEDEX Corporation. I hold a subject matter expert certification with them, and I was the very first non-law enforcement entity of the company to obtain that certification.
What is ZEDEX?
ZEDEX is a company out of Phoenix, Arizona that sells a software called Trax. It is sold primarily to law enforcement agencies and very few private companies, individuals like myself, who they heavily vet in order to make sure that it gets into the proper hands.
All right. How do you spell ZEDEX?
Z-E-T-X.
And the Trax, how do you spell that?
T-R-A-X.
All right. Have you heard of PinLink?
Yes.
Are you certified in PinLink?
No.
Do you know how to use it?
No.
Which is better between the Trax versus PinLink?
When I first got into doing cell towers, there was really nothing out there for law enforcement or those of us in the private sector to utilize. Therefore, we had to use Microsoft Streets and Trips and Excel, and we had to hand plot everything. That all changed.
Judge, we can need all this. This is just a 705 hearing. I just want to make sure I know what his qualifications are, that under Neno, he's testifying in a field as an expert, is legitimate. And I also want to know what his opinions he's going to express and what the basis. That's all this is for.
Okay.
I thought I needed to qualify as an expert when they asked me here. So
I don't think I'm going to have a problem. Really, I can just ask the questions and we can short circuit.
That'd be great.
all right, so we're beyond his qualifications to be
Yes.
an expert. They just want to know the opinions.
Yes.
Well, let me just, if I could ask the questions. Mr. Slovenski, I'm Justin Lord, one of the prosecutors here. Could you just talk real briefly about what it is you're going to testify about, the subject matter today?
The subject at hand is the Brenda Delgado case, in which I examined the call detail records that your office provided to us.
Which phone? Who's called detail records?
It would be Kristopher Love, Crystal Cortes, and Brenda Delgado.
So 2 phones, one for Crystal Cortes, one for Brenda Delgado. Okay, and you used what mechanism to analyze data that was provided to you?
Well, several things. First of all, my training. Secondly, my experience. Thirdly, the Trax software. And fourthly, best practices as described by National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST.
Okay, so you looked at what we provided you?
Correct.
Did you get any outside independent information on your own?
Sure did.
What did you get?
I had asked y'all for a key to the Metro PCS records, and you gave me the wrong one. I had to then go to the ZEDEX Corporation and ask them to search in their vast database for the proper key, of which then I was able to utilize that key to help decipher some of the data.
Okay, you'll have to explain to me what the key is.
Okay, whenever the police ask for CDRs, called detail records, the tower records, you following me?
I'm with you.
Okay. Then one of the things that is always asked in the warrant, at least that's what we teach. I myself, I've taught hundreds of law enforcement officers. I've worked for the State Department and taught internationally for the state. Okay. You always ask for a key. That is usually in a PDF format in which it will describe every column as to what that column applies to. In other words, call date, call time, first tower, last tower, and it will delineate for you in the key what it means. Case in point, the time. Depending on the provider, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Metro PCS, Sprint, it could be in what's called UTs. You got it? Okay.
So let me be, I'm just trying to get to the point.
Sure. What do you want me to say? I mean, what do you want me to answer?
I'm asking what you're going to tell this jury.
I'm going to present a PowerPoint of things that I found when I examined the CDRs, and also a PowerPoint that was presented to me that was assembled by DPD, Dallas Police Department.
Okay, well, what conclusions are you going to draw that you're going to tell this jury?
To put it in a vernacular, the state's mapping was very sloppy. It was not verified. There were allegations made that are not supported. And I am just going to point out where the phones, or I'm sorry, the devices were as asked.
Hey, Mr. Slovenski, this isn't like a trick thing. I mean, let me be very specific here. What I'm asking, what the purpose of this hearing is to know exactly what is going to come out of your mouth. So you just
The truth.
I get that. What I'm getting at is what you just said is kind of general. Specifically, what are you going to tell this jury about, you said it was sloppy or whatever. Specifically, what are you going to say you believe was sloppy?
If I may, I've provided the state a copy of the 15, including the title page. It's 15 pages total. It sort of outlines exactly what we're doing. I think they know what we're going to say. His testimony anticipates going to be somewhat limited, but he doesn't know the specific questions I'm going to ask. He has the PowerPoint, so he knows the subject areas, and the state has already been provided that by our.
I just want to know what he's going to say.
Right, 705, that's what this hearing's for. We're entitled to know exactly
What
what
are
he's
you
going
going
to
to
say.
say?
Can
Let me ask you, are you going to say that the location of the phones were not where the state said they were? Is that what your conclusion is?
That's one of them.
Okay. What's another one?
Overestimation, movement that was found on the Delgado phone that was not presented by the state in their presentation that I received.
And I'm going to ask, did you review Love's phone, Crystal Cortes' phone, Brenda Delgado's phone? What were the dates of the records?
Judge, I get the feeling they don't want to tell us what they're going to say. They want it to be some surprise.
I don't know how to get to the answer.
I mean,
I'm stating for the record what I'm going to ask. They have the PowerPoint.
We don't want to know what you're going to ask. We want to know what he's going to answer.
He is going to say
The conclusion.
the conclusion is that there was a phone call made by Brenda Delgado's device, 9:36 a.m., September 1. He's going to testify the location of that. There is a point on September 2 when, specifically 10:36 a.m., they say Brenda Delgado's phone pinged off a tower at 10:36 a.m. He is going to say the CDRs do not support a transaction with a tower to support that opinion or conclusion. And then he is going to testify based on the records that they have that Crystal Cortes' phone that she gave to the police was not the one that she was using when the murder was committed, which is going to directly contradict her testimony. And he's going to testify not only is the SIM card removable, which she denied, but that it was in fact removed in exchange, and he's going to show from the records how that happened. That's it. I mean, these are just facts from the records.
Mr. Warden.
so you're only going to talk about one specific call? How many calls are you going to talk about that are wrong?
In essence, if I may,
Judge, the point is for the witness to explain what he's going to say to the jury. This isn't
I can show you the PowerPoint right quick.
Can you just answer the question?
Could you repeat?
May I just ask him the specific question here?
No.
Could you repeat the question, please?
The question is, what specific calls are you going to talk about as being inaccurate in your opinion? Mapped improperly. Specific calls.
The one that I have in the PowerPoint, okay?
Can we see your PowerPoint?
Sure.
They've had it since their case in chief.
How long is PowerPoint?
15 pages
I
counting.
don't want to go there.
I can take you through it very quickly.
How quickly?
5 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, my identification. My license number was state of South Carolina. This is what I'm utilizing. This is giving you a background on tracks. Right here, the Delgado device on 9/1/15 at 9:36 a.m. Now, it has already been established by law enforcement that there was a call from this tower at 7:41 a.m. on the Delgado device, and also at 11:16 a.m. All right? This is where the Delgado device was during the middle. Are you with me, sir?
I'm with you.
Okay, in between. So it shows movement on the device's part. Okay, so the device had moved from down in the lower southern area down toward Redbird Field, I believe it is.
Redbird Airport?
Yeah, that's it. And so this shows that it proceeded to another point. Okay, so what I'm saying is that device moved in between those times. It appears from the police that that device stayed there the entire time. There was nothing shown by the police where it had been in movement, which it had been. Where are you going?
What are you basing, just so I'm clear, what are you basing your opinion that it was actually moving on?
Oh, because I looked at the CDRs that the state gave me. Call detailed records. Call.
Again, specifically, which call are you referring to that would show that there was movement?
That call right there. That's the call. If you look at that location, that's a call that happened at 9:36 up north, very much north of the original 741 call.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. All right. Also, I was asked to look to see if crystal was found in the Love device. This shows it. This is the actual police report used in Celebrite. This is DPD's report, not mine. And as you can see, crystal is named in there. Only way that call got that name was that the name crystal was in that phone. And as you can see, that number comes back to 7810, a number that was allegedly used by Crystal Cortes. This shows you just a little bit more. Okay? All right. This was slide number 20 from the state that they gave me on the 31st of May. This here at the bottom where you see, I wish the laser would work. I'm blowing up what they put. They put Brenda Delgado's cell and the time and date. All right. This here is very confusing because it's just showing a location, but there's no explanation for it. And then when I got looking, I actually looked at the CDRs that the state gave me that were supposed to be from Metro PCS, so these supposed to be the true and accurate records. It doesn't exist. Brenda Delgado's records, sir?
Metro or AT&T?
I am so sorry. You were right. It was AT&T. Brenda Delgado's device was AT&T. Now, when AT&T gives the police the call detail records, they are separated by AT&T into three categories: voice, SMS, and data. So I had three different entities to look at. So I went and looked in the voice section. That call is not there. If that transaction was a call, it's not in her records. I then looked at the SMS, which is short message service, aka text messaging. That time and date is not in there. I then went and looked at the data portion of the records provided by DPD, and that transaction was not in there. On the Cortes cell phone, there was a switch of the SIM card, and I can prove it. I am using actual records provided by the state and DPD. This here is a copy of the Celebrite report in which a phone was taken from Crystal Cortes
Let me short circuit this. Let me just short circuit this to speed it up a little bit.
Okay.
Are you going to say that because there's two different MEI numbers that it's two different phones? Is that what you're
Correct,
saying?
and I can prove it.
Okay.
I can prove it right there.
Okay. Again,
That's what you asked. That's my conclusion.
I'm not cross-examining you. I'm just trying to find out what you're going to say. Okay. It's just you don't need to feel defensive about this. Okay. So. With respect, let me go back to that slide you had up there. That
Which
you're going
one?
to show about the 936 call.
You talking about from the very beginning?
Yeah,
That one?
So,
Mhm.
so what you're saying is that between 7:41 and 11:16 at 9:36, it's going to be your opinion that there was a call from that tower that's depicted on the map up there?
Yes.
Okay, and so between 7:41 and 9:36, are you going to express an opinion as to which towers were being hit?
Yes, that tower.
Between 7:41?
At 11:16, that tower was being used in another location than the one that was shown at 7:41 and 11:16.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is you were making reference to the Redbird area?
Yeah, that's not Redbird.
I understand.
Okay.
Is that, just so I'm clear, that tower is hit only at 9:36, or is it hit at other times between 7:41 and 11:16?
No, that's the only instance.
Okay, so before 9:36, is it hitting off a Redbird tower?
Correct.
After 9:36, is it hitting a Redbird tower?
No, it's hitting on the call part. It went from 7:41 down here at Redbird.
Wait, let's
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to put it in perspective for you.
I get it. 7:41, we're down there in Redbird up until 9:36. Now we're on that. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Correct.
After 9:36, before 11:16, does it hit back down in Redbird?
No.
Okay, so after 9:36, it does not hit down to Redbird.
Oh no, it comes down to Redbird at 11:16.
Okay, so it does hit Redbird at 11:16.
Correct.
So what your opinion is that it's not that it's at one location between 7:41 and 11:16, but it is at Redbird at 7:41. It is at 11:16.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Again, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. That's all. Okay. You have just stated some opinions you're going to express. Is there anything else you're going to testify to this jury? Okay, there's no other opinions are going to come out of your mouth in front of this jury. And the reason I ask this is because under the rules, and I'm sure you know this, having testified before, now's the time you got to say it. You can't say it in front of the jury now that we're asking.
If I'm asked a question, what am I supposed to do if it's a question that didn't deal with this?
Well, I guess that's up to Mr. Milner, but have you discussed with him what your testimony is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, is he going to go beyond anything that you just told me you're going to testify to?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay, obviously if I ask a question, that's a different story, but with respect to what Mr. Milner asked.
I've identified the exact subjects in the room to it. It's limited. It really is limited. It's not.
I get it. I just want to know what it is. That's all.
No surprises.
All right.
We could do a quick bathroom break.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, this is in person.
All rise.
Be seated.
Yes, Your Honor. Defense calls Thomas Slovenski. You did, Your Honor.
Please be seated. Let the record reflect this witness has been sworn.
All right, sir, would you introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Thomas Slovenski,
And where do you currently live?
Greenville, South Carolina,
Where are you originally from?
Philadelphia.
Did you ever live down in the Dallas area?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where'd you live?
Cedar Hill.
Well, have I retained you to assist me in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. What do you do for a living?
I am a certified digital forensics examiner specializing in mobile phone data recovery and cell tower analysis.
All right. In English, what does that mean that you do?
I take mobile phones and find the things that people thought they got rid of. And when it comes to cell towers, I analyze where a device has been according to the records provided by the cell service provider, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint.
All right. When did you first start doing this?
I was a police officer for 15 years. In fact, I spent 2 years down Midlothian PD. We moved back to South Carolina, and I got on with the sheriff's office there. And in 2007, I was running my own private investigation company, and in 2007, I got very interested in mobile forensics, which was just a new scientific practice at that time, both in law enforcement and in private industry.
What training and certifications do you hold?
I hold numerous training certifications. I hold a BA degree from Bob Jones University. I was certified by the state of Texas as a police officer, state of South Carolina as a police officer. I've been certified in mobile forensics by Dr. Rick Mislin, who was with Purdue University at the time. I was certified by Cellular Data Research, CDR, back in, they were about the only ones teaching cell tower analysis back in 2009, 2011. In 2017, I received training and certification by the ZedX Corporation as a subject matter expert in cell tower records analysis and geolocation analysis.
What is geolocation analysis?
That is where you will take the cell service provider records and and they come in many different formats, so you will take the different formats and plot them to the most accurate area possible.
And have you testified in court trials like this in the past?
Yes, sir.
Permission to approach the witness.
You may.
Showing you what is marked for identification purposes, Defendant's Exhibit 6. Can you identify this?
Yes, sir. This is my CV, or my resume, as it's commonly referred to.
Does Defendant's Exhibit 6 will it give the jury kind of a summary of the schools you've done, papers you've done, presentations you've made, somewhat of a history of your area of qualifications in this subject area?
Yes, it will show that I wrote a book on mobile forensics, the very first one that ever came out in America, used internationally now. It'll also show all the articles I have written, the ones that have been, of course, that have been published, as well as the training I have given to police and individuals throughout the United States and when I worked for the State Department.
All right. You mentioned training. Have you trained law enforcement officers on this subject area?
On mobile forensics, yes.
Move to Defendant's Exhibit 6.
No objection.
Admitted.
All right. In connection with the Brenda Delgado case, did you review records which were provided to us by the state of Texas?
Yes.
Who are the people whose records, who are the subjects of it in terms of those phone records? Who are the people?
It will be Brenda Delgado, Crystal Cortes, and Kristopher Love.
All right. And what are the dates of the records for each? Go one by one. We'll start with Kristopher Love.
Kristopher Love, the records covered from August 23rd of 2015 at 7:52 a.m. And those records ended September 4th, 2015 at 1:35 a.m.
That would span a little more than 2 weeks prior to the murder and 2 days after.
I believe so.
With respect to Crystal Cortes, what are the dates that the records cover?
They started at August 3rd, 2015 at 9:37 a.m. and they ended on September 4th, 2015 at 12:57 a.m.
So what was the date they ended? I'm sorry, just the date. What was it?
September 4th, 2015.
As to Brenda Delgado, what were the dates?
The starting date was August 2nd, 2015 at 12:17 a.m. and they ended on September 4th, 2015 at 11:05 p.m.
Some of those times that you elicited were like 1:13 in the morning. Is there some rhyme or reason as to how the cell service provider sends these records?
They will send the records as requested from law enforcement. So the time span is given by law enforcement, and then the provider provides back the answer to their request.
All right. Let me ask you, are those requests generally done date X to date Y?
Yes.
And then they just give them date X to date Y?
Yes, there's usually a time frame involved, too.
All right. They didn't make a specific request for something at 1:13 and 16 seconds in the morning. It was just, that's the first. Is it what you're saying? The first record I'm seeing is that?
Correct.
You have, the state produced a PowerPoint in connection with their cell phone person who did some map plotting. Did I provide you that?
Yes.
Did you review it?
Yes.
They are taking you to September 1, 2015. This is the date before the murder. Did you prepare a PowerPoint to assist you in your presentation to the jury?
Yes.
Permission to approach again, Your Honor. Showing you what is marked for identification purposes, Defendant's Exhibit 5. Can you tell the jury what this is?
That is the PowerPoint that I presented for today.
Move to admit defendant's exhibit 5.
I have no objections.
Admitted.
All right. Maybe show it to the jury, Your
Yes,
Honor.
yes, sir.
All right, this first slide we're seeing here, Sailor Forensics LLC. What is that?
That is the name of my company.
All right. And what, the CDR, it says certified CDR. What is a CDR?
That is a call detail record.
And you are certified in that.
I am.
It says analyst SME. What does SME mean?
Subject matter expert.
Go into the, what's up next?
The South Carolina law.
No, I'm at the next slide. All right.
Oh, okay. I'm licensed by the state of South Carolina State Police, which is a requirement in South Carolina. And that is my license number.
License to do what?
Licensed to do forensic examinations.
Of cell phone, cell tower records?
That is correct.
Okay. You mentioned tracks earlier. What, in essence, is tracks?
Trax is a software program in which a proprietary algorithm is utilized where we submit the call detail records to the software. The software in turn will then provide us with the approximate radio frequency coverage for that call or transaction, data, SMS, voice, and then we are able to plot it on Google Earth maps. Google Earth is used by police as well as the military, so we use that for accuracy purposes.
All right, going to the next slide. In essence, what are we seeing here in terms of the relevance of this?
What this is explaining the validity of Trax in comparison with other software programs. When I was looking for another software program, Trax came across my radar, and I looked into it and found it to be the most accurate and versatile program for what I do. I do know because I'm tied into the Trax, the ZX Corporation, in that I've taken all their training, and I do know because I train alongside with people from law enforcement, FBI, Marshals, Secret Service. There's numerous police agencies, over 300 in the United States presently, that are using Trax, including the Dallas District Attorney's Office. It is forensically sound and exacting. It has passed numerous Daubert and Frye hearings throughout the United States, and I am certified in it as a subject matter expert, and there's very few of us in the private sector that are.
Is Trax generally regarded, at least within the industry, is Trax generally regarded as the best for this purpose?
Yes.
All right. Taking you to, go to the next slide. Was there a PowerPoint where in the police presentation they indicate that the device associated with Brenda Delgado pinged off a tower south of Dallas at 7:41 a.m. on September 1 of 2015?
Yes.
All right. Was that in their PowerPoint?
Yes.
Did it also show that there was another ping off that same cell tower at 11:16 a.m. on that date, September 1, 2015?
Yes.
Now, were those voice transactions?
Yes.
Did you review those records?
Yes.
The police, you didn't hear it, but if the police officer said the device associated with Brenda Delgado did ping on the tower that he said it pinged at both at both 7:41 a.m. and at 11:16 a.m. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Right. At my request, did you look to see during that time if there were any other phone calls made, voice communications between those times by the device associated with Brenda Delgado?
Yes.
Were there any?
Yes.
Showing you, referring to the slide up here, we see this. When, at what time was that voice communication?
9:36 a.m.
And did it ping off a tower?
Yes.
Was that tower located anywhere in the Redbird area?
No.
Can you tell us where that tower was?
Very much due north.
And the shaded area we see here, there's a red shaded area. Would that mean or indicate that that device approximately was located in or near that shaded area?
Yes.
And is that east of I-35?
From the map, we have Houston Street and, correct me if I'm wrong, U.S. Highway and the time and date go over it, but up near Vargas Street. I've been away from Texas for so long that I'm not familiar with the area much anymore, but it's right near the intersection of where the highway splits, as you can see, right? Right down there.
See, now, if we ask, Commissioner Approach again, you're showing the coverage area that you show.
Yes.
Instead of being an exact circle, it's more of an area generally east, southeast, and some of the south of that tower. Is there a reason why it is narrow like that as opposed to simply just a perfect circle?
Yes, sir.
What is the reason for that?
What you're seeing here as the pinpoint is not an omnidirectional tower.
What is omnidirectional tower?
Yes.
Take us in English.
Okay. An omnidirectional tower will be where the tower has at the very top an antenna that has 360 degrees of coverage. If you're going down the highway and you look at a cell tower, you notice that most of them are multi-sided. Most of them have three sides. We call those sectors, alpha, beta, gamma. And that's the name of the sectors. But you'll have sector 1, sector 2, sector 3. And the way the records show, the AT&T records, was that if this was an omnidirectional antenna, then this would have been a complete circle around the cell tower point. However, the records show that it's a segmented tower, like a three-side tower. And so that call reflected off of this sector, which...
All right. members of the jury, we're going to take an early lunch. You'll be back in the jury room at 1 o'clock.
All rise.
Judge, the state's going to object to this testimony about these tower sectors and all this. I specifically asked him in the 705 hearing what opinions he was going to express. This is not one of them he shared with the court, so I object to it.
It's not an opinion. He's just saying, what kind of tower? That's the end of this. We're moving to the next subject.
Okay,
We'll be done in 15
all right,
minutes.
let's move to the next subject.
Is in the device associated with Kristopher, in the device associated with Mr. Love, Kristopher Love.
Are you finished with this line of questioning?
Yes, I think we
okay.
are.
Let's move along then.
I was moving along. I know.
Okay.
All right. Does he identify her phone? Does he, Kristopher Love, identify her phone number as Crystal, spelled C-R-Y-S-T-A-L?
Yes.
The rest of it is identical to what we've already done. I mean,
That's the point, is I'm expecting this witness to testify identically to what he testified to in the 705 hearing. Anything that's new needs to be discussed now, or we're going to object.
Okay, well, we're going to go through the whole hearing so we can hear. We're going to go through his whole entire testimony so we can hear what he's going to say.
does one of their PowerPoints show a cell phone transaction for Brenda Delgado, the device associated with her? It's at 9/2/15 at 10:36 and 26 seconds.
Yes.
Do the records show any transaction with a tower to support that assertion?
No.
The Cortes phone, it's identical to what we've already done.
Keep going.
The Cortes phone, are you able to identify a phone, a specific physical phone, by some kind of a number?
Yes.
Does each phone have its own unique identifier?
Yes.
Are you able to identify a SIM card?
Yes.
Are you able to identify it by a unique identifying number?
Yes.
Is every SIM card given a unique number?
Yes.
Are both of these, one for the SIM card and one for the physical phone device, are they unique by comparison, like the VIN number on a car?
Yes.
Do the records which have been provided show that the cell phone received from Crystal Cortes by the police was not the physical phone she had on the day of the murder?
Yes.
Do the records support that?
Yes.
Was there any switching of the SIM cards? Was there any switching of the SIM cards on the device associated with Crystal Cortes?
The SIM card was switched from one device to another.
And are you able to verify that through the records which were obtained by the police?
Yes.
Do those records speak for themselves?
Yes.
Right. First of all, what type of phone did Crystal Cortes have? What kind of phone was it?
It was an LG 345 Leon, Leon.
And are you able to, let's do this. Let's go to the slide that we're looking right there. Do you have one before it, a blow up? Is that the Celebrite report, a page from the Celebrite report on the device associated with Crystal Cortes?
Yes, from Dallas Police Department.
And does this page have the numbers that you're talking about?
Yes,
Is this how you're determining this fact?
that's one of the factors.
All right, the next one, what do we have here? Is this a blow up from the previous page?
Yes, sir. I'm giving you the heading, and then I'm blowing up the unique identification numbers that you just asked about.
And are those the numbers that you're utilizing to know if there's been switching of SIM cards and cell phones?
That is correct.
Going to the next one. What are these other records which were obtained from the police?
Right. These records obtained from the police showing Brenda Delgado's telephone number. The Metro PCS call detail records show an INSI, which is the SIM card number, the unique number, and the INI, which is the equipment identification number. I then compared it, these are the records from Metro PCS, to what the Celebrite report said of the phone that they examined. It turned out to be the same model of phone, but if you look, the equipment identification number is different. However, the SIM card unique identification number remained the same.
The next slide, does it tell us what we have here?
Yes, what I did was run each of those equipment identification numbers. You'll notice that this one ends in a 90 and the other one in question ends in a 92. I utilized a common application on the internet to find out what model phone these numbers come back to. These are assigned by the manufacturer. Both of those numbers come back to the exact same model, an LG Leon.
Is it unequivocally clear that the... All right, going to the next one. What do we have here? What is it telling us?
What I'm showing here is that when the police seized Crystal Cortez's LG Leon, model 345, it was seized on the 6th of September. As you will see, the cell phone records on this phone, the one that they seized, start September 3rd, 2015 at 1:37 a.m. There is nothing before it.
Would this be consistent with them saying it had been wiped clean prior to, by whatever means?
I have my doubts on that. There's no data to support that.
All right, David, you're not going to give us an opinion on how that happened.
No.
All right, their opinion is the cell phone shows no data prior to that time. Do you agree with the police conclusion on that?
Yes, and I noticed that in the text messages that is highlighted here, and I put the time showing, and the record actually goes from the bottom up, so it increases in time, and then also on the call log. Bear in mind, this is the report from DPD. This is not my report. And then, as you can see, the call started on 9/3/15 at 10:16 a.m.
So the bottom line is, do the records span different or much broader dates than the data available on the device?
Could you repeat
The
that?
records from the provider, do they
Yes.
span a larger amount of time than the data that was extractable from Crystal Cortez device?
Yes.
Is that how you're doing this?
Yes.
And the exchanging of SIM cards, do the records which were obtained by the police conclusively prove that, number one, the SIM card can be removed, and number two, that it was?
Correct.
How many times did Crystal, based on the records, how many times did Crystal change out SIM cards?
If I recall, it was at least twice with Metro PCS.
Do the records which were obtained by the police prove that there was another LG Leon physical phone that was in existence on September 2, 2015, but that phone was not the one that Crystal Cortes gave to the police?
That is correct, sir.
That is it.
And I just have a couple more questions based on what you brought up.
Right.
Mr. Slovenski, I want to be fair to you so you don't think you're being sandbagged, because I think I can clear something up. The slide, there's a slide that I have in a PowerPoint that Mr. Milner provided to us. I'm going to show it to you here. I didn't see this slide in the one that you're going to present to the jury. Is that correct?
That is in that presentation, sir.
So it will pop up on the screen in front of the jury.
Yes, sir, I believe so. I can review it real quick if you want me to.
The reason I didn't see it, if I missed it, I'm sorry.
Let me look real quick, if you don't mind.
Let me switch to your.
No, that's okay. No, I can look right here. I can just do. There it is, right there, sir. And you're welcome to look at my computer.
I just want to make sure. So,
yes, sir.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
We ended up having to make some changes, and what's in evidence? What's in evidence? Slide 20 is a little bit different. It's basically corrected. You see in slide 20 how it says 10:30 and 26. This was not this.
This is the first I'm seeing it, right?
This is first you're seeing it. This is in front of the jury. You see the time on there?
9:02 at 10:30. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, 9:02.
I'm sorry, 10:30.
In 26 seconds. Let me show you. We talked about this a minute ago. This excerpt from the call logs for Brenda Delgado's phone. If that's the time that was shown to the jury in slide 20, 10:30 and 26, and that's unconverted, I can tell you that. If this is the data from AT&T, would this actually be correct? Let me let you look at the.
No, hang on a second. Okay, when you said uncorrected, what do you mean by that?
The time.
Okay, so are you referring to this as UTC time or Central Time?
Central Time.
Okay, so we're looking at this at Central Time, and this has been. This is
in front of the jury. Jury has these.
Okay.
Okay, so what you said was.
But this is yours.
Well, this is my copy of
Okay.
what the exhibit is.
Okay, cool. No, I'm not trying to.
So what you said was there's no such call that exists at this time? If you'll go back to your slide.
Yeah.
I think I can clear this up. I mean,
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to.
No. And I appreciate it. Okay, on voice.
Let me get you to go back to the slide, this slide that you have, the slide. Which one is it?
10:36, and you have it as 10:30. Okay, see, I was given it at 10:36, not 10:30 that it's on.
You're talking about slide 20? Yeah, slide 20, you see it, and that's, again, we ended up making changes at the end. Mr. Milner had it. I think there may have been, again, this isn't your fault, but I think there may have been information not flowing, which...
For speeding this up, is there a call that supports that, based on what he's showing you now?
Which one, the 10:30 or 10:36?
10:30.
Let me go back and look.
And if it is, we'll delete it. And we will.
That's not converted what you have there.
Correct.
It'd be at 15:36. That's why I'm being.
Yeah, I need to go back. I need to go
Let me show
ahead.
you these.
Okay. Okay. Now there's a 15:30, but I was originally given 36.
I understand.
Okay.
That's
so
not
I
your
just
fault.
wondered. Okay.
What I'm saying is that now that you've had a chance to look at this, is your opinion that this is actually correct? That slide 20, if it says 15:30 and 26 seconds, is actually correct?
Let me look real quick here. Yes.
Okay. And again, I'm just trying to bring this up now. I'm not
sir.
trying to
No
sandbag
offense
you.
taken. No offense taken.
No surprises. Just so when we get in front of the jury, we understand that.
Just, I'm going to do this for record purpose.
Okay.
All right. Obviously, it's clear that the one that was provided to me did not include that.
Correct.
We will then, withdraw, that slide's not been published to jury. We will withdraw that, and I will not ask any questions about that.
Would that also apply to the slide that's on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, this subject, in these subjects I'm going through, the opinion, data does not support a transaction with that tower at that time. That will be removed. I will not ask.
Anything further?
I do have one more question. So we know what your opinion is going to be. With respect to Crystal Cortes and the different IMEIs and different phones, if her testimony was that she switched phones, would that be consistent with would that be corroborate what she said?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks, Judge.
All right. I guess we're going to have lunch.
What's the time now?
1.
We're going to delete that. Just take those two out and we'll see them back.